The next part of the process we like to look at is what area of the country the player wants to go to for school. So what I mean by that is that a lot of players at the 6th, 7th, 8th grade levels start thinking about college baseball. We're up here in snowy Ohio during the winter, so what do they like to think of? They like to think of Florida, Texas, California, Arizona, Hawaii, all the warm weather states. Some players have been there and just love the area. Some players have not. They just know that it's warm and perfect baseball weather, so that's where they want to go. So with that, away from the baseball side, and even thinking if a player is able to go down to a warm weather state and compete with those recruits and those players around those schools are playing 12 months out of the year, we like to look at the realities of, are they mentally prepared and do they understand what going that far away from home actually looks like. So right here we show 0 to 3 hours is probably a pretty good radius to understand that it's close enough where during the fall a player may be able to go home on the weekend. And the younger guys may be thinking right now that, well, why would I want to go home? I've been itching to get out of the house for the last 18 years. I want to go. I want to stay there. You will be in a new environment. It will be a little bit more difficult than you're probably imagining right now. And a lot of players do want to go home for some part of the weekend in the fall. So for example, if you're there for a couple weeks, things are going well, but you have a girlfriend, or you want to go see grandma and grandpa, 0 to 3 hours kind of puts you in that position where you are, if you do have a car on campus, able to skate home, have some home cooking, catch up with family, and get back to campus before classes start on Monday. When you start thinking about 3 to 6 hours, now you're starting to think that, well, I probably can't get home for a 2-day weekend or a 3-day weekend. However, Thanksgiving break, I can probably get home. All right, that's probably close enough where I can hop in the car, get back home for maybe a 3 or 4 day break and get back to class on that Monday. When you start thinking about 6 hours plus, then you got to start thinking about, okay, I'm here. If you are going to school in Georgia, or if you're going to school in Wisconsin or Maryland, all right, where it's going to be 6+ hours, you may not be coming home for Thanksgiving, which means that you're going to be at school for 3 months. And unless there's an emergency, you're probably going to be staying there until winter break. For mostly all the programs, as far as the spring goes, you're going to be there for the 3 or 4 months continuously, just because of the baseball season. Spring break is actually the time where most schools will go down south to play. So it's not like you're going to get a lot of leeway unless you're pretty close and maybe around Easter, Passover. There will be a couple of days off where if you're 0 to 3 hours, you might be able to come home. But most schools will be pretty continuous throughout the spring. The next part is starting to think about what you want to major in. Some of the juniors may have it nailed down. Some of the 8th graders may have it nailed down. Some of the juniors may not have a clue, and that's okay. Some of the 8th graders may not even know what a major is, and that's okay as well. All right, but start thinking about if there's certain aspects of, I guess, the real world or the workforce that you've always aspired to do, and starting to understand what majors you need to qualify for that. So for example, some pretty general majors would be business or education, right? And some of the more specific majors would be like a zoology. If you love animals and that's all you've wanted to do since you've been growing up is to get involved with animals, right? And what I mean by that is that if you want a business degree, most universities and four-year schools do offer a business degree. Most schools do not offer zoology. Some do not offer architecture. Some that do offer architecture are very difficult as far as the workload with the schooling and the baseball, and guidance counselors will be pretty honest with you that it's a big undertaking. All right, so start thinking about what you want to do past the 4 years of baseball into the 40 years of the real world, and make sure that you're not sacrificing what you want to do for the rest of your life to be able to say, well, I want to go to this school because I want to win a national championship, and I'm willing to sacrifice the next 40 years of my life, all right, because I want to win a national championship. And understanding that if you do go through your 4 years of school and you are not happy with your major, or you get in that field and you are not happy and you have some regrets, not only if you have student loans, or that they're still due, okay, they're still due. The banks are still going to want their money back whether you're happy with that degree or that field or not. So a lot of players will end up with a degree they're not happy with, and then they'll have to go back to school for another degree and take on more student loans and more debt, all right, when they probably should have just picked a school that already had that major so they can move on to the field right after college. And then start thinking about the size of the school. All right, do I want a smaller school, maybe a private school, a D3, NAI, or maybe even a small Division II that only has about 1,000 people enrolled? And when you start thinking about that, a lot of those schools that only have 1,000, about 65% could be student athletes, which is a pretty cool environment for a student athlete, because you're around a lot of people that are going through the same journey as you and doing the same juggling act as you as far as their sports and their academic. Or start thinking about a medium school, or start thinking about a larger school. Go on those campuses now. I would very much suggest that you don't wait till your sophomore, junior year to get a feel for what a college campus looks like. And by that, I don't mean just going to a football game. I mean walking around the academic resource centers, walking around to the library, see what the dorms look like, see what the surrounding community looks like, whether that be a specific trip to Kent State, or you're on vacation down in Myrtle Beach and you want to go check out Coastal Carolina. Even if you're not particularly interested in that school, go see what it looks like. You may end up liking it, but it also gives you a frame of reference when you're starting to narrow down your choices. When you're a junior or senior, and for some players, sophomores, when you're starting to narrow down that choice, you have a library in your head of what different campuses look like and what different schools offer.